Good afternoon, everybody. This is our weekly program that we have that we're going to show you. We are again here and we are going to continue from where we left off last week and continue with you guys. To do a little recap so that everybody's on board, last week we found out that Jafar as-Sadiq, who was too chicken to go and fight in wars when his followers, his own camp, the people that looked up to him as a religious leader, as the representative of the so-called Allah on earth, as the spokesmouth for Allah, when they came and they were requesting him, including his own family members, were requesting him that he should go to war and fight against the Abbasid, against the Umayyad Khalifa of the time, just like how the Abbasids were fighting them and many other tribes. He rejected. He was saying how these guys are good. The Umayyads are good because the Umayyads gave him money. But when his own group went and fought and attacked people who were not in a war and attacked villages and took him over, and they decided that they had a dispute amongst themselves whether the booty that they were gathering, which included women, little babies, both girls and boys, animals like donkeys, camels, horses, chickens, goats, and many others, money, jewelry, homes, pillows, whatever you can think of. The dispute was, should we give this, a portion of it, to Jafar al-Sadiq, or should we keep it for ourselves, disperse it amongst ourselves? The dispute came up of what they should do. So they sent somebody to go on a horse as a messenger, bring these letters to Jafar al-Sadiq, and let Jafar al-Sadiq, their spiritual leader, the man who's supposed to teach them what the one and only God, supposedly named Allah, which is a fake name anyway, wants and teaches and guides people to do through the mouth of this so-called Jafar al-Sadiq. And Jafar al-Sadiq, as we saw, did not know how to read and write. He did not know what to do. And he started giving us a long, deep lecture that went nowhere. He stood up, he sat down, he stood up, he sat down. You know, he was furious, trying to think in his little head what he should do. How is he going to get the people's money without making it look like he's trying to get the people's money, which is not even their money, the money of those that were killed unjustly. So he came up with a movie process. He told them about a God named Allah who was in the battlefield fighting the infidel. He had a sword. You know, he all of a sudden he became Stephen King and he was writing a movie. Oh my God, I got to write this movie. And then he came up with another movie in his head where the Prophet was telling people to go and fight. Then he had another one where the Ansar, the companions of the Prophet, they were speaking. So he had 3 channels, you know, channel 1, channel 2, channel 3. And each channel, if you flipped it with your remote control, you had a different movie. In one movie, God came down on earth, picked up his sword, and he was fighting away. In the next movie, Muhammad was telling people what to do and go to war, giving the orders like a general. And then the other one, Ansar, was talking to the Prophet. So we have 3 movies. And then we got to where we are today. How is he going to put his hand in the pocket of the people to take that money out? That money has to come out somehow. So ladies and gentlemen, let's see what he does. It's very important. First, as you can see, I'll try to blow it up as much as I can so that it'll be easier for you guys to see the actual material. And before I do that, let me do one more thing, because if I don't do it now, I will forget. For those who are in our Telegram and can view our material in Telegram, those who've joined our Telegram group, I am going to share the link of this program in our Telegram so that those who are in Telegram can see this program, because YouTube might not show it for you. They play games. And I know that now that we went live, many people might not be able to see it because they may not know that the program is even on. Hence, if I show the program somewhere, like in Telegram, at least people can go and click on it and they'll be able to see it. Hence, we are now showing it for the people so that those who want to see it have an opportunity to be able to see it. Now that I did that, let me go back to our program and continue where we left off. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, Jafar as-Sadiq brought up a proof from the Quran, the holy book of supposed Allah. The Holy Quran is supposedly, according to Muslims, and by Muslims, I don't mean regular people who are Muslim who say they're Muslims. No, talking about the clergymen of Islam. After all, let me clarify this once again, because some people might not understand. By we, I mean myself and those who subscribe to our channel, because they are my team. You see, when you watch this program, we are like a team, like a sports team, like a soccer team, or like a football team, or like a baseball team, or like a hockey team, or like a rugby team, or like a lacrosse team, a cricket team. We are a team. We are working together. We do different works. My job in the team is to share the information, provide the links, show you where you can find things, explain it to you, make sure that you have all the information. Your job is to spread it out. So here, when I'm talking about us, we don't hate Muslims. Like, we don't hate the guy who lives next door to us, or 3 streets down, or in the other city next to us, who says he's a Muslim. No, we don't hate that guy. But we hate the ideology of this religion called Islam because of what it represents, which is completely the opposite of what the God that created everything represents. And we're going to show that. We're going to expose this religion, and we're going to try to wake up some of the people who are following it, thinking they're following the real creator. We're going to show them how this is not the real creator. And the proof is in their own writings. We got them by the wrist. And soon we're going to put them in a headlock as a group. This religion is going underneath our arm, and we're going to put a nice headlock on it. And we're going to squeeze that head of the religion until the head of the religion pops. And we can free the people from following it. Well, how are we going to do that? Through what we're going to be showing. Jafar as-Sadiq brings out chapter 8 of the Holy Quran, according to the Muslims, the clergymen, verse 1, where he says, "They ask thee concerning things taken as spoil of war." Things taken as spoil of war. It's really easy when they put it in a paragraph, because things taken as is not part of the Quran. If you're following what the actual verse says, it's they ask thee concerning spoils of war. Spoils of war, ladies and gentlemen, covers everything. Women, you killed their husbands. Now these women are your possession. Girls, boys, donkeys, horses, camels, sheep, chickens, roosters, the guy's pillow, his bed, even his underwear that Muhammad stole according to the Quran, where his God had to come and say the underwear in question was not stolen by the Prophet, but then doesn't tell us who stole it, because all of his companions who were at the war were accusing this Prophet of being the one who they saw steal a silk underwear. That's the kind of prophet, a thief prophet who steals an underwear, a used underwear. We're not talking about an underwear you go and you buy from Walmart, brand new. No. This was a stinky, used, unwashed, worn for many years underwear. Okay, that's what he stole. Do you know how pathetic you have to be to steal such a thing? I mean, most people would not even take a look at it. They would just pass it by and say, forget it. No, not the Prophet of Islam. For him, such a thing is very valuable. He wants to wear what you wore. He likes the smell. He was dirty that way. So now, spoil of war. Everything you can imagine is part of spoil of war. The spoil of war is a plural name for what they had gathered. See? Whatever they can gather that day. Similar to his saying, and then he brings you another reference, this time from the 59th chapter, and we're going to look at verse 6. What Allah has bestowed on his apostle, meaning the same Muhammad, whose real name was Ghatham. Ghatham literally means human feces. So his parents and his tribe called him human feces. Imagine your name is human feces. You grew up with that name for 40 years, and then you change your name from human feces to the praised one. You give yourself the name of God because people praise God. And now here you have a guy who calls himself the praised one. So if he's the one that you praise, who is God? God has to take a seat back from him and put him forward because he's the praised one. So now this human feces, who supposedly calls himself a prophet and a praised one at that, supposedly gets bestowed by his Lord, and here it's being linked to spoil of war. So spoil of war is what Allah bestows on his apostle. If they tell you that Islam is a religion of peace and not war, tell them, liar, liar, pants on fire. We caught you right here. The verse from the Quran is right here. And Jafar as-Sadiq, the supposed learned of the learned, who all of the big name, giant scholars of the past supposedly came to his school to learn Islamic knowledge. This is supposed to be the teacher of the teachers of the teachers of the teachers of the teachers. This is the guy who's supposed to explain this religion that they say 100,000 students would come on a daily basis to learn from this guy. I don't know how he would speak so loud because there was no microphones at that time. So how was he supposedly speaking and everyone was hearing him? That baffles the mind. Supposedly this guy has linked two verses from the Quran together from different chapters to tell you that the God of Islam bestows on the Prophet of Islam spoils of war as a blessing. He, the Almighty, also said, and know that out of all the booty that ye may acquire in war, even they themselves put in brackets in war, okay? Meaning the Prophet of Islam literally got up in the morning, gathered his people, said, we're going to go attack this tribe, and we're going to take whatever they got. And then tomorrow he would get up, gather his people, so we're going to go attack that tribe and take whatever they got. And then the next day he gets up and he says, we're going to attack this tribe, yours, and we're going to take what you got. Okay, that's how he worked. His job was get up in the morning, pull his sleeves up, take out the sword, and say, we're marching forward. We're going to bring terror on some village, and we're going to take whatever they got. That was his job. Day in and day out. That's what the Prophet of Islam did. Okay? Here we go. The booty that you get. Chapter 8, verse 41. According to Jafar as-Sadiq, according to the guy who wrote this book. Okay? Who is a Shia Muslim, by the way. Whose father was a Shia Muslim clergyman. Whose grandfather was a Shia Muslim clergyman. He himself learned under two giant names. One was Ayatollah al-Uzama Hui, and the other one was Ayatollah al-Uzama Hakim. This guy grew up in Iraq, in the city of Najaf. And then he always quotes everything he wants to say comes from the name of another big giant, Sheikh Mufid, from the past. So everything he says in here, the guy who wrote this book, this guy is not a nobody, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is a big name for himself, and he has 3 backers who are all big names of their time. Al-Uzama, for you who speak and don't understand, you may have heard the term Ayatollah, but Ayatollah is just the regular. There is Ayatollah al-Uzama. Ayatollah al-Uzama means great Ayatollah. You have lots of Ayatollahs. You don't have as many great Ayatollahs. And on top of that, this Ayatollah al-Uzama that we're talking about, whose name is Hui, he is also given the title of Marja. Marja would be equivalent to Pope for the Catholics. How many popes do we have? 1. Marja, there should be about 30 to 40 of them. So in Shia Islam, you have about 30, 40 popes. They allow that. No more. You may have some more great Ayatollahs. You might have 1,000 great Ayatollahs. You might have hundreds of thousands of Ayatollahs. And then the next level down is what they call a Hujjatul Islam. So we're giving you a crash course around how the hierarchy of clergymen work in modern day Shia Islam. So Ayatollah al-Uzama Maraj Khui was this guy's teacher. At that same time, this guy also studied under Ayatollah al-Uzama Maraj Hakim. So he studied under 2 giant names. And what did he study? He studied books by a guy who died way back in the day, before the Shias came up with the terminology of Hujjatul Islam, Ayatollah, Ayatollah al-Uzama, and Maraja. Before that, they used to call them Sheikh. So this guy learned from the two Marajas that we talked about, from the books of a guy who had died long before by the name of Sheikh Mufid. So Mufid, who died long before they came up with these terminologies, was a giant in the Shia world. So everything that this guy quotes, he says, Sheikh Mufid said so. So three giant names back this guy. This guy that we're talking about and his book that I'm showing you, he's not a nobody. He's not some Joe Schmo that no one knows. I didn't pick a book out of the blue that no one's ever heard of, and you can say it's far-fetched. Far from that. A whole 180 degrees the other way around. The guy has a thick book. Everybody knows this guy's thick book. In fact, this guy's book is so important that it was chosen because in Islamic Republic of Iran, the government of Iran allows Ayatollah al-Udama Khamenei to hand pick which books should be published and which books should be translated into other languages outside of Arabic and Farsi. And the first language that gets translated after those is English, because they try to brainwash the rest of the world. So he's backed by the leader of the revolution of Iran, the guy who's been killing and committing genocide on Iranians for the last 44 years, who calls himself a marja, who forces everyone to do what he wants. So now he's got four big name backers. That is the person whose book we are reading, published by Ansarian in the city of Rome, which is the holy site for all of these clergymen in Iran. If you want to become a top-notch clergyman in Iran, in the Shia Islam, you have to go to the Hawza, which is the school that they have in Rome, and you have to learn there. This publishing center is also in that same city. So it's not a coincidence. This is a big shot book with top-notch backers, right? So let's see what he says. Then this guy goes back to the same chapter 8, verse 1, and he starts to talk about. So Allah took them out from their hands. Took what? Out of whose hands? Them here, when he says Allah take them out, he means we have, let's say, a gentleman by the name of Jason. As an example for you. Jason lives in a village. His village is called Sky Village. Jason was busy 1,400 years ago out in his village trying to feed his chickens early in the morning. Next thing we know, Muhammad attacks Jason in his own backyard, feeding his own chickens, and cuts his neck. Then Muhammad runs inside the house, grabs Jason's wife's hand, Samantha, grabs it, pulls her outside, slaps her around, and says, now you belong to me. My right hand possesses you. You are my property. This is what it says when it says, Allah take them out from their hands. Meaning, they used to belong to Jason, but now Jason is no more. So Samantha now goes to the hands of Muhammad and have it as the property of Allah and His Prophet. Don't tell me I lied to you. They're telling you exactly this. Jason used to have his wife. But Allah and His Prophet Muhammad, human feces, they came to Jason's house. They cut his head. They took his wife Samantha. And now Samantha is the property of Allah and His Prophet. Well, Allah's not going to come down here physically to do anything with Samantha. So the Prophet will do things with Samantha on his own behalf and again do it one more time on Allah's behalf. What a good God, no? So that is what we're talking about. Then he said, and know that out of all the booty, everything, whatever you can imagine in your mind, money, jewelry, chickens, animals, the guy's bed, his pillows, his clothing, his dirty underwear, his wives, his kids, you name it, his pet goldfish, whatever you can think of in your mind, right? All the booty that they may acquire. And then even the Muslim guy tells you in bracket, in war, meaning this happened in war. Next time they tell you Islam is a peaceful religion, tell them liar, liar, pants on fire. Your book, your holy book says otherwise. And these are the, take pictures, everybody, take pictures. Take pictures with your phones, okay? Take pictures. A fifth of the share is assigned to Allah and to the apostle. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give that example again. Muhammad comes to your village. He brings with him 100,000 men. We're going to make this one easy. We're going to exclude all the booty. We're just going to say after he won the battle, they were able to claim 100,000 pieces of gold, right? Remember, he had 100,000 soldiers. Well, let's say 20,000 soldiers died. He's left with 80,000 soldiers, right? Now let's see, according to the terminology that we're reading, how much will go to the Prophet of Islam and how much will go to this 80,000 soldiers. A fifth of the share is going to go to Allah and His Prophet, right? They take 1/5. So out of the 100,000 pieces of gold, Muhammad already took 20,000 pieces for his own pocket. That means we are left with 80,000 pieces. But wait, gets better, right? And to near relatives, orphans, the needy, and the wayfarers, if ye believe in. Let's see where the rest of this will continue to go. Why isn't this moving? Okay. Here we go. I'm making it as big as I possibly can for you guys. Themselves. And that was what allowing them and granting the spoils of war without ever considering, right? Let's see where it goes. But those who believe them had homes in Medina. Did we skip a page? Let me see. I think we skipped. Here we go. Allah in His revelation, we send down to our servant on the day of testing and the day of the meeting of the two forces, right? So On that day when the war was going on, there's two forces. There's poor Jason and his chickens, and there was Muhammad and his army, right? And they were fighting. So the Prophet divided the spoils of the war in 5 parts. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about one part was for Allah and his Prophet. Another part is for his descendants. There was the orphans, there was the poor and the needy, right? So let's see how much is left for the soldiers. We're looking at the calculation according to how the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, human feces, his real name. Let's see how he divided this money, the gold, 100,000 pieces, remember that. So the Prophet divided the spoils of war in 5 parts. I'm going to count with you guys. Count with me, everybody. 5 parts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fingers, right? 5, 5, 5. Let's see what happens. I have my hand up. You guys can count with me, okay? Divided the spoils of war in 5 parts. The Prophet of Islam, human feces, calling himself Muhammad at the age of 40. He self-proclaimed himself as Muhammad, the praised one. His real name is human feces. Qatam. Qatam means human feces. 40 years, his own tribe called him Qatam. Let's see what Qatam did here. Qatam took 1/5, which is the share of Allah. That's the share of God. To keep the name of Allah alive. Did you hear me, people? To keep the name of Allah alive. Meaning, if he doesn't take this 1/5 of the booty, Allah dies. He needs that to keep him alive during his life and afterwards. Meaning, still, when the Muslims go and fight after the death of the Prophet, they still have to give 20%, like 1/5, 20,000 pieces of this 100,000 piece of gold. They need to give to Allah, because if they don't give it, Allah will die. He's a needy God. He needs money. He needs booty. Without it, Allah dies. Okay, you're reading it from their own words here. Allah dies without it. Okay. And a share to his close relatives. So another 1/5 goes to his close relatives. Well, Muhammad didn't have biological kids, neither male or female. The girls that he had in his house were Khadija's biological kids. He married Khadija after she was already married 3 times. Those kids had different fathers. He was not their fathers. And the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet are all descendants of Ali. And Ali is the cousin of this Prophet. Only his brother in name. They did not have the same father. Therefore, they're not biological brothers. So 1/5 goes to the descendants of Ali. 1/5 goes to Muhammad and his God. We're left with 3. Everyone can count. This is simple math. Let's see what happens to the other 3. From the descendants of Abdul Muttalib, father of Ali, another share is for orphans. But hold on. When Zayd, the orphan child of Muhammad, got married to Zainab, according to the Quran, the holy book, when the Prophet went to the house of Zayd, and Zayd was not home, and he saw the naked body of Zainab, and he decided he wants to do intercourse with Zainab, and Zayd had to divorce his own wife so that Muhammad can have her. At that time, Muhammad forbid Muslims from raising orphans. So the Quran says, if you can't be just with an orphan, then you can have nikah with them. And nikah literally means a fucking contract, not a marriage contract. F-U-C-K-I-N-G is nikah. So you do a nikah contract with the little baby orphan. Orphan is not someone who's 60 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Orphan is a little child who has no parents. So if you can't be just to a child, if you can't, as a grown man, go up to a little baby child, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, and say, dear child, come and live in my house and have a roof over your head so you don't freeze to death in the street or get cooked by the sun in the desert. Here, have a little meal so that you don't go hungry. If you can't be just like that and you get horny, well, it's better for you to have intercourse with this little baby. And in return, you can give it something to eat. So this one share that he's giving to the orphan, number 3, is in the possession of Muhammad. And he will give what he feels the child should get for sexual pleasure. So he's promoting his pedophilia and he's pushing it on the people as something they must do, but do through him. So now he's collected 3 parts of that 100,000 pieces of gold. Let's see what else he does, this so-called prophet. And of course, what he does, the Quran says, don't say to the prophet, because what the prophet does and says is not from him, but from us, meaning from this Allah. So Allah's teaching is what you're seeing. A share for the poor and the deprived. The poor and the deprived is people who make a very small amount of living. You know, it's like the person that works at the pizza store. You know, your pizza driver who barely makes enough money to pay the bills. What do you do with this person? 20% share goes to them. But does it go directly to them? No. The Prophet of Islam takes it for himself. And again, just like the orphan, he will give a little piece out to the poor, provided, you guessed it, sexual pleasures. We're left with 1, ladies and gentlemen. We found out what he did with 4, we're left with 1. Who does the last one go to? The last share is for the wayfarers who have no business. The wayfarers are the people that live in the street. They have no housing, no business, no nothing. But does he give it to them? No, it stays in the possession of Muhammad. And you guessed it, sexual pleasures. In other words, force the homeless, the needy, the orphan to do sex work, become their pimp. They want some money to eat. They want some roof over their head. Very simple. All they got to do is sell their body. And in return, you will give them some food. The one who's paying will pay you. And you give them some food. And if they don't want to have customers, you can be their exclusive customer. They can provide for the sexual needs of the Prophet of Islam and the urges of his God, Allah. You're reading it. He took all 5 shares. What was left for the 80,000 Muslim soldiers that were still alive? The 20,000 that died. If you don't give their family members, who cares? They're dead anyway. They won't know any better. But the 80,000 that are left, who risked their life for this prophet got nothing, not even a cent. He didn't even spit on their face so that they can say, at least we got the saliva of this prophet. Now, in the letter, Jafar as-Sadiq is saying this, that look, back when the prophet was alive, he took all the booty. So now you give everything to me. I'm going to put my hand in your pocket and I'm going to take everything. All the little kids, boys and girls, all the women, all the donkeys, all the horses, all the chickens, all the camels. Give me his clothing, give me his furniture, give me his gold, give me his jewelry, give me his coins, give me the house, give me his shoes and his socks. It all comes to Jafar as-Sadiq, the big thief of his time. I mean, the mafia would only imagine what this guy does, you know? As much as the mafia likes to go and twist people's arms to give them money, I mean, they don't even come close to this guy's shoe, man. They're not even the sand below this guy's shoe when it comes to crimes. The biggest pedophile sitting in American jails could only dream in his dreams of the pedophilia these guys do and promote. The biggest serial killer you can think of in his wildest dreams couldn't come up with the amount of killing these people do. Don't fall for Islam being a peaceful religion. It's anything but. Those that tell you it's a peaceful religion fall into the following category. Those that don't know their religion. Those that are telling you a lie because they're afraid that if they tell you the truth, they might be harmed. Those living in the West whose numbers are low and they're waiting in order to get a bigger number so that they can enforce a Sharia law here like they do in England and France and Spain and other places that they migrated to, and want to destroy those places like the countries that they ran out of in the Middle East for the same Sharia law. Don't fall for it. Now let's see what happens. This is about the day of Badr, the war that happened in Badr. And this was the way of the dividing of spoils of war, which were taken by sword, by sword. I'm not saying this. I was not the author of this book, ladies and gentlemen. The author of this book is backed by 4 giant marjas, the who's who in marjas, in the clergymen of the Shia Islam, the biggest of the biggest, the powerful of the powerful, is the one that was backing the author of this book. What he writes in here, he didn't just make up. It's backed. Regarding those who have not taken anything, those who didn't get anything, the soldiers, remember the 80,000 that were alive? They got nothing. It might be important to remember those who migrated from Mecca to Medina. Another lie, ladies and gentlemen, there was no Mecca. They migrated from the city of Petra. But let's see what he says. Muhajirun, they gave him a title, Muhajirun. Muhajirun literally means people that migrated from one place to another. Okay. Now you know what it means. And how the citizens of Medina, in paragraph he puts, Ansar, these are the people that lived in Medina, gave them half a dirham. Dirham was the money of the time. He says half a dirham. In fact, he's lying to you folks. Let me give you the real story of what happened. When these people ran away, and the Muslims rewrote history, they changed Petra to Mecca, which didn't exist at the time. Why they left? Muslims will tell you they were being prosecuted in Mecca, which is a lie. They were not being prosecuted. Petra got hit by multiple earthquakes and natural disasters. And later, the time of the Umayyads, the time where Jafar as-Sadiq was living in, there were battles. The city got ransacked multiple times. And so people flee for their life. Muslims later on came and rewrote their history and tried to push it to several generations before. Created a city called Mecca, which was created after, near the end of Jafar as-Sadiq's life. They started to come up with the plans of a city called Mecca. So Mecca still did not exist at that time, but an idea about it and a territory about it started to come into a plan near the end of Jafar as-Sadiq's life. And we're going to show you. We got proof for all of it. Okay? So the Muhajirun came down to Medina. The Prophet of Islam supposedly, according to the Muslims, with their rewritten history, said to them, the Ansar, take the Muhajirun as your brothers. So one person from the Ansar, one person from Mujahideen, become with each other as one family. Be brothers to each other, like a biological type brother. See each other in that way. Share with them half of what you have. Share with them half of what you have does not mean just money. It literally means half of everything you own. So if you have 2 chickens in your backyard, one is for you, one is for them. If you have 2 wives, you guessed it. One is for you, one is for them. If you have 2 pairs of shoes, one is for you, one is for them. If you have 2 pairs of underwear, you know where it's going. If you have 50,000 pieces of gold, 25,000 is for you, 25,000 is for you. Prophet ordered it. If you don't go with what the Prophet says, off with your head. That was the method of the Prophet. So people did what the Prophet said with half of their wealth. Okay, now let's see what happens. It was about 100. Okay, 100 people came, according to. The real number is way higher, but okay, fine. When the Prophet overcame the tribes of Bani Alireza and Bani Nadir, okay, in bracket, 2 Jewish tribes. These 2 Jewish tribes were Iranian tribes. Have you ever heard of the so-called king of Iran by the name of Nadir Shah, who saved Iran from the invasion of the Afghans, chased them all the way into India, took back a lot of our region from the hands of the Ottoman Empire, kept Iran from being totally wiped off the map? Nadir. These are Iranian tribes. Yes, they were Jewish in religion. At that time, we did have lots of Jews living in the Arabian Peninsula, which was under the control of the Iranians and had been for hundreds of years. Thousands, you can say. That region was under our control from the Achaemenid Empire. When Alexander took it over and he was gone, it came back again in the hands of the Iranians. It stayed in the hands of the Iranians until the Arabic conquest, which really started with Muhammad himself. So these tribes they're naming, they're actually Iranian. This was a genocide that Muhammad started against the Iranians. And they took the property of these people. Prophet said to the following to the Ansar. Important, ladies and gentlemen, to listen to this part. We're going to look at what Allah's teaching is. You know, the God that created all the creation is going to be kind to his creation. I'll give you an example. If you have a family at home, are you kind to your kids? Do you want the best for your kids? Do you want them to be safe? Do you want them to have a full belly? Do you want to have a roof over their head? Do you want them to be clothed? If they fall and scratch and hurt themselves, are you going to give them a hug and some kisses? Are you going to tell them, it's okay, let's wash it off, you're going to be good, you're going to be strong, everything's okay? If you don't have kids, if you have pets, do you want the best for your pets? Do you come at home and you beat up on your dog and your cat? Or do you come at home and you play with them? You feed them, you caress them, you say good stuff to them, you smile at them. What do you do? What do you do when you come home? And you didn't even create, like literally create. Yes, you might have had a part in some sexual stuff in order to create your kids. But as far as your pets are concerned that you love so much, you did not create them. Now we're talking about the creator who created everything, right? Let's see in Islam how the creator that created everything acts with his creation. Does he love his creation as much as you love your pet or not? Let's see. What is the answer to this $1 million question? Okay. Let's see what's going on here. The Prophet is saying, on behalf of Allah, if you like, you may fire the mujahirun from their houses and take back your wealth from them. And then I, Muhammad, will divide this spoils of war amongst mujahid without considering you. What? What he's saying is, you gave the mujahideen half of what you have. If you don't like this deal, go ahead, create a fire, put it in their homes, burn their homes, take back everything you gave them. And then Muhammad will step in and say, everything you gave them, you can't have it back. It's going in Muhammad's pocket. And Muhammad will decide how he's going to distribute that between the mujahideen. So you are left again with zero. The mujahideen who you gave half of your belongings to may not get that half because now it's in the hands of Muhammad. And you guessed it, sexual relations is the way to get some of it, tiny pieces of it. That is the teachings of Allah. That is how Allah deals with his creation. Initially, it's like you having a cat and you treating your cat the way you would a soccer ball every time you come home. Very nice, isn't it? I mean, it's the best thing you've ever heard. Come on, you got to agree with that. I mean, Allah has his ways, man. And his prophet enforces those ways. Now we will see what the people of Ansar did, right? When they heard this. The Ansar replied, please divide for them without ever considering us and allow them to stay with us in our houses and use our wealth. Afterwards, Allah, the Almighty, the Majestic, descended the following. So the Ansar said, we don't have a problem with what you're saying. Please don't attack them. Please don't do any of these things. We are okay. There's no problem. We're fine. Just let it be. It's okay. Don't worry. Just let it be. Don't worry. What they have of ours, they can keep. Let them use more. And what we gave them, if you feel is not enough, and you have the authority over everybody, divide as much as you want. Meaning Muhammad can now come and say, Mr. Ansar, you gave Mujahirun 6 wives because you had 12. I, Muhammad, think he deserves only 2. So I'm going to take the other 4 away from him, but I'm not giving it to you. I'm just going to keep it for myself. That's what Muhammad's doing here. What he feels they need, he will say, you can have that, but the rest I keep. Doesn't go back to the Ansar. He keeps it. So Muhammad has an idea of how to steal and put his hands, both hands, in your pocket and take what he wants when he wants. And if you say anything else, off with your head. Now Jafar as-Sadiq is saying the same. He's saying all of this is his reference. He's using this to back his statement that you should listen to your heart. See with your mind. Be just. If not, his dog named Allah is going to get you on the day of judgment. And he's saying during the time of the Prophet, everything everyone had belonged to the Prophet. Wealthiest guy around, by far. He made his Muslim followers fall into despotism. And he's saying he's able to do the same because he's the descendant or so-called descendant of this prophet. Ladies and gentlemen, last week, we didn't have a lot of people watching this program. We are a team. So if you find value in what I'm sharing with you, spread it. Tell people to come and subscribe. Go to our link tree. Subscribe everywhere, especially the Facebook. Go to our Instagram. Go to our Telegram. Go to our YouTube itself and subscribe. Go ahead and cut these pieces and put it in your own channels, in your own social media. Put under it hashtag Dr. Alireza Musawat, Dr. as in DR, and then Alireza Musawat, so that people know where you got it from, so that they can also come and join our team, make it bigger so that we can use a bigger team to grow this team and be able to promote this knowledge to the ears and the eyes of people who don't know about us, so that they can get this information as well, so that we can do a better job. You living in the West, we need to protect the West. The only way we can do this is if you guys help and support us in this way. That's the biggest help you can do. Spread this knowledge and tell people to come and join our site so that our viewership can become bigger. That's how we can push the bots, so that the bots in YouTube can also share this with people who don't know about us, so that people can get valuable information. There are a lot of people who are doing great job on YouTube, and TikTok, and other places, but they mainly attack the big branch of the Sunni Islam. Not too many of them dare to go into Shia Islam or see value in it, because the population of Sunni is much bigger than Shia, and they think if they go after the majority, they can have more success. But we need to hit Islam on both of its big branches, Sunni and Shia, because if not, the Shia will try to promote themselves as the untouchables, and they will try to get some of those Sunnis to also become Shia. But that's where the true God, Jesus, has other plans. There are people who are doing a great job attacking Sunni Islam and exposing it. We are here doing the same with Shia Islam, though we will still do the same with Sunni, but we will try to focus more on Shiism. So please share this. And if you don't like what we do, if you think it's not valuable, don't even waste your time. Don't even watch a second. In fact, unsubscribe, because really, what's the point if you don't find any value in it, right? And if you're a Muslim watching this, I can find a great way for you to go to heaven. You see, in Islam, ladies and gentlemen, if you do a sin, it gets counted for you as one sin. But there's something called good deeds in Islam. And if you do a good deed, it gets counted as 10 good deeds. One good deed gets counted as 10 good deeds. So here's how you do it. You take your mouse if you're using a computer. If not, and if you're using your phone, you take your finger. You click on the subscribe button and you subscribe to our YouTube. Then that was your bad deed as a Muslim because you subscribe to us, right? Then what you do is, again, if you're using a computer, you click on your mouse on the unsubscribe button. And if you are not using a computer and you're using your phone, you use your finger. You click again on the unsubscribe button. Okay. Now, if you do this all day long from morning to sunset, keep clicking on subscribe and keep clicking on unsubscribe. You know, by the end of the day, how much more good deeds you got compared to your bad deed? I mean, 10 minus 1 leaves you with 9 good deeds. So just imagine how many times you can do this as fast as you want and how much good deeds you're going to accumulate. You know, we can help you that way too. Then you can go to Allah's heaven, where you'll have, as a man, you'll have an endless penis that you can use. And your wife, she will be locked to a bed inside of a tent. And when you're done with her, you go to your next wives. And when you're done with all your wives, then you go to these things called huriyain, who are supposed to be something in between what is an angel and a human being. Yes, there's another creature, ladies and gentlemen, that you've never been told about. It's called huriyain. They have giant big eyes, like an owl, okay? And they look at you, and they are supposed to be very white, like so white that light comes out of them, okay? And then when you're done with these, you have your, according to the Quran, boy servants whose anuses has not bled yet, which means, you know what you got to do with the anuses of these little boys. Come on now, you know. And then when you do that deed, there is Friday the day when you will go to the bazaar, which is like the mall. You will go to the mall of this heaven, and then there will be a place in this mall where while you walk in, by the way, you are all men because the women got locked up on that bed. While you walk in, you're going to see pictures on the wall. Men, women, children, everything. And as you like them, and you fancy them for the English, and you like them for us in the West here, then you just jump in that picture. And you get to do, well, you know what you get to do. The same thing you did with your wife, of course. You get to do that with whoever was in that picture. That person comes to life, and you get to do, come on now, you don't need me to tell you what you get to do. You get to do that. And when you get tired of that, you go back home. And where was your wife? Locked on that bed. You continue that. But here's the kicker. You have an endless penis. Endless. I mean, you can't be walking forward because you won't see where this thing is. So everyone has to walk backwards, you know? You have to walk backwards and carry this endless penis. Endless. And you're going to carry it everywhere you go. You know, you got to carry it everywhere you go. Be careful. Don't make sure it goes into the Amazon River, you know, because the piranhas, you know what piranhas do, you know, those sharp teeth with the piranha. And if you're a woman, great news. With all these deeds you collected, you're going to be locked prison to that bed all the time. I mean, you'll never get out, not even for a second. You're going to be locked in this jail of yours. I mean, isn't this wonderful? Isn't this the heaven you've always wanted? So, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, that is the heaven that is waiting for you. I'm not sure how much time we have left, but I think we've hit our 1 hour mark. So the rest of what we have to talk about, we will talk about next week. Until then, I leave you in the hands of Jesus, and I wish you the best until I see you again next week. Thank you for watching our program and being part of our team.